morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Friday, June 6, 2025, and citizenship by descent. So there was a bill passed yesterday or introduced yesterday talking about how the Liberals are reintroducing a old Liberal bill that gives people who have Canadian citizenship but weren't born in Canada the ability to pass down their Canadian citizenship through birth, even if they're not in Canada. That's crazy, right? So, my gosh, we're having a whole bunch of things happen. Bill C2 as well. I think that was C3. One of them, one or the other, is also passing. There's all sorts of very, very concerning things. Ministers don't know what rpals are, so people who are in charge of public safety don't understand the basics of what our system demands and all of that stuff, and that's very, very concerning. Government surveillance planes are flying over, or did fly over, the Freedom Convoy, and Mark Carney is trying to make that into law. That's the other one. Bill C3 or C2 or whatever is doing the citizenship thing, and the other one's doing the big omnibus bill that's supposed to be border security, but they're packaging in all sorts of surveillance and extra stuff, like you can't make cash transactions above $10,000 and things like that into our code of law. And that's bad. It's bad, and I think this government's illegitimate, and we should not accept anything they do. But what are you going to do? Nobody else is behaving in that way. Everybody else is behaving as if this government is totally legit and above board and everything's going normal. Everything's fine. What do you mean we're bankrupt? Everything's good. And of course, the biggest news in the world right now, Trump versus Elon Musk. Oh my gosh, big smackdown fight. I don't know. There's some inconsistencies. I'll show you all of this. I'm skeptical, but I'm skeptical about everything these days, because man, we're being manipulated on a level and scale we can't even comprehend at this point in time. Like, we are children. We are a cat following a laser pointer. We are being managed through whatever's happening right now. And I don't think we can stop it. I think you can maybe shelter yourself a little bit, but my gosh, I don't know what's happening. Seems like, you're on a big, maybe you've brought a toboggan to a ski hill and you think this is going well at first, right? And then you start to pick up speed and you think, ruh-roh, right? And then maybe you hit a tree. So we're picking up speed right now, and things are looking like nobody's in control of this runaway train, not even Trump. And so what's going to happen next? I don't know. Is that a curve coming up? My gosh, aren't we going a little fast? All right, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we're going to start with Trump Musk, but I wanted to point this out. This is the agenda. This is a full-length documentary. It's 2 hours, 2 full hours, 1 hour and 52 minutes. And I've watched 29 minutes of it yesterday. I started watching it yesterday while I was washing the dishes, and got half an hour in, and we all know everything. Things they were talking about, I remember reporting on in real time. You guys will remember the shows. Like, I remember all of this stuff being rolled out, and we were watching it, and I kept saying, this looks concerning, and I kept thinking to myself, man, yep, tying it all together like this, it sure does look concerning. So it's a good video. You'll know everything in it, but tying it all together will just confirm all of your worst fears. So, I mean, don't watch it if you're not feeling good. And if you are feeling good, maybe skip this one for a little while. It's good for information, but maybe for a Monday morning, not for a Friday night. Let's talk about Trump Musk. Elon Musk says, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, no. Sorry for the mixing. So I was supposed to be sinister, not losing horn. He's in the Epstein files. We knew that he was in the Epstein files already. Like, that was already widely known. Trump, he famously kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because of what had happened, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, Trump is in the Epstein files, according to Elon Musk. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald Trump. And he says, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. So, okay, sure. And here is Kyle and Charlie Kirk predicts by November, Trump and Elon will be having a steak together at Mar-a-Lago. And dissident media says it's possible that this whole thing is a ruse. So here's another one. Ian Miles Chong says, President Trump versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him. And Elon Musk says yes. And Ian Miles Chong is responding to Musk's time to drop the big bomb. Trump is on the Epstein files. And so here is Brad Bradshaw, and they say Mark Carney hung out with Ghislaine Maxwell. So does that mean anything? Oh no, Trump's in the Epstein files. So can we sort this out, or that's not something that's bad? Okay, I got you. Trump didn't do that thing, so it's not bad. So we'll just focus on Trump, right? Gotcha, right. Matt Walsh says it's totally inconceivable that there would be something incriminating about Trump in the Epstein files, and yet the Democrats kept that information to themselves for all these years. Sure, you can say that they're also incriminated in the files, but so what? They would have just released the part that incriminated Trump. Release that part and destroy or redact the rest. Does anyone think that the Dems are above pulling a move like that? The only possible reason they didn't release the dirt on Trump is that there is no dirt to release. Trump's the most thoroughly vetted politician in American history. There's no corner of his life that his enemies haven't ripped open for public view, and yet they've kept this secret? Absurd. At the very least, implausible. It sounds like, well, yeah, if they had that, they didn't sit on it, so they didn't have it, right? So I don't know, man. It's one of those things. Clandestine says, my understanding of the OBBB situation, the big, beautiful bill, or 666, Build Back Better. I don't know, man. That whole thing, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. But like I said, this sled's picking up speed, eh? Whoa. Anyway, the bill has lots of things that advance Trump's agenda, like tax cuts, finishing the wall, etc., but there's a lot of pork added in by Congress. However, it's a budget reconciliation bill, so we only need 50 votes as opposed to 60 in the Senate. So Trump and his team are willing to let Congress get their pork as long as Trump is able to pass what is needed to advance his agenda. Elon doesn't like the extra pork and wants to slim it down. Trump just wants to get his bill passed so he can fix pressing problems. I can see both sides of the argument. I can see why Elon wants to slim it down. I can also see why Trump is okay with sacrificing some pork in exchange for getting what he needs to secure the border, mass deportations with the 10,000 new ICE agents, etc., because getting these things passed with 60 votes rule in the Senate will be impossible, so Trump wants to add it all to the budget reconciliation bill so he can squeeze it past the Senate without needing a single Democrat vote. What I do not understand is why this disagreement is playing out publicly. Seems like something that could have been solved behind closed doors, which leads me to believe that there may be an element of political theater going on. Kabuki theater. Maybe. For what purpose, I don't know, but I find it hard to believe Elon would jeopardize the ongoing war against the deep state for his own personal agenda. In conclusion, I have no idea what to do, and the higher-ups need to figure this shit out. Yeah. Okay. Here's Elon Musk, and he says, in light of President Trump's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX, my government contracts. Anyway, SpaceX will be decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. And then somebody said, that's a bad idea. And he said, okay, yeah, you make a good comment. You make a good point. I'm not going to decommission Dragon, but I saw that just before going to air here and I didn't pick it up. So apologies about that. But he was definitely talking about that and said, oh yeah, I won't do that anymore. So I don't know. Here's this chick, and there's a couple of good points in here that she makes. So
is anybody else just really kind of like over this stupid shit? Because I am. I've been a Trump supporter since 2015. I've seen a lot of stupid shit. I've seen a lot of things that they've tried to throw. But this is so crazy because we just endured the worst fucking 4 years. And now here we are. Our party, the Republican Party, which is fucking worthless, can't get their shit together enough to just do what they should do for the American people. And now Elon is mad at Trump. Trump's pissed off at Elon. We've got drama going on that's like high school shit. Luckily, Trump did rise above and not, really respond to the whole Epstein thing, but we'll get to that in a moment. But it's just petty. It's stupid. And the American people have suffered enough. Like, enough. Take the drama privately and figure out your shit. Okay? Second of all, if Elon really believed what he was saying about Trump being in the Epstein files, why the fuck are you letting your young child around him comfortably? There's pictures of Trump with his child. When did you find this out? All of a sudden now you're releasing this information after you just get the key to the White House and you're pissed off about this bill. And now all of a sudden Trump's tariffs are going to cause a recession and he's in the Epstein files. Not even just named, but he's in the files, and Trump, that's why they're not releasing it, is they're protecting Trump. You guys, come on. Let's use our brains. The left would have released that to destroy Trump if he was named in the files. They would have ruined him with that. They wouldn't have tried to kill him, and they wouldn't have tried to put him in jail for bullshit when they had that, which is one of the most important things that Americans actually are talking about, at least on social media, is the Epstein files. People want to know who is in them. So I'm calling bullshit. Whatever the reason why Elon is doing this, I don't know. Is this like some psyop? Is Elon just losing his shit? Is there some truth to any of it? The American people, no matter which way you go, they deserve to know. They deserve to know. So either produce the evidence or shut the fuck up.
Sorry for all the swearing, but there's a whole bunch of allegations floating around and inconsistencies with behavior and things said in the past and actions in the past. Now, little X is not a 16, 17-year-old girl, so that would explain why Musk would be comfortable with having somebody who is in the Epstein files hanging out with his young son, possibly, but also maybe not, because maybe the Epstein files are way worse than just 16 and 17-year-old girls, 15, 16, 14, 13, 12-year-old girls, right? But X doesn't fall into that category. But still, terrible, terrible things happen to little boys. And like, I don't wish that on anybody. I'm just saying, I don't know, because who knows the extent of the Epstein files, et cetera, exactly what was done to who, right? But still, valid points. Joe says, seriously, a week ago, Elon is in the Oval Office and Trump is giving him a golden key, a tremendous send-off with a huge thank you. 6 days later, they're in a knockdown, drag-out fight on social media, and people think it's a real fight and aren't questioning if it's purposely staged or not. You know the WWF, WWE, I loved wrestling when I was a kid. I tried to get my son to watch wrestling, and he was just confused. He was like, why are we watching this? I was like, never mind, you can watch YouTube. But the call-ons, the drama, was what made it fun to watch. I remember in college, WWE was still a thing. We would go to the bar to watch the WWE things because they had the pay-per-view or whatever. And it was a big deal, even though we all knew it was fake, right? And Trump comes from that world, the WWE, WWF world of the drama is what gets people kind of on board, right? Are you team Jen or are you team, what's her face? The other one. It doesn't matter. I don't even care. Brangelina? That's right. So like, people get on board, people read Us Magazine, right? Like this creates relevance maybe. I don't know why they're doing it, but it feels like maybe we're being set up. That's the audience building aspect. There are people on social media as well who privately, Twitch streamers do this. And I've talked about this before. They'll privately agree that they're going to have a knockdown, drag-out fight to increase their follower count. Like, oh, you heard these two people are fighting? Oh, this is a big fight. This is a big one. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior are fighting. We've got to see that WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? And everybody picks up the Us Magazine. Who won? Who shot JR? And so who knows? And I've seen liberals now calling for the release of the Epstein list. So is this weird 5D chess? I honestly, genuinely don't know. I'm just throwing out what I've seen. And like, what's the conclusion? We have to wait and see at this point in time. We got to see how it plays out. And not necessarily how it plays out in the ring, but how the WWE does as a business. You know what I mean? We've got to see what Vince McMahon does. We got to see how they play it forward, not just the results in the ring. You see what I'm saying? If that worked, they do more of it. If it didn't work, they change tactics. You know, see what I'm saying? And so is this what we're going to see for the next little while? I'd rather arrests. I'd really rather arrests personally, me personally. Anyway, back to this. People think it's a real fight. Trump has used the same playbook many times over the last 8 years. Words, it's just words between the two. We're in a real narrative war against a real enemy who still control big parts of the media, the whole media, and governments. Deception is required in war. Why would Trump and Elon be staging a very public fight? What advantage does this give Trump and Elon? What reaction are they trying to get from the enemy? There are several possibilities. There are good answers to these questions. Set your emotions aside and use logic. This is a huge development and it means something big is happening. Ignore the noise. Seek the signal. Yeah, there's stuff happening. Things are moving. 130 days of relatively calm waters and things like that. We'll see how it all plays out. I have no idea. And I want to see success for removal of the deep state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is that even a realistic goal? I have no idea at this point in time. Donald Trump said he would be able to drain the swamp, but he also said he would be able to bring peace to Ukraine. So it's a war. Maybe you can't take that village. Maybe you can't take that next thing, right? Maybe the war is unpredictable. Who knows? But we have to wait and see, because at this point in time, it's undetermined, right? We're still in the midst of it. Native Patriot says, how about that? Here's David Schoen. And he says, I was hired to lead Jeffrey Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him. So there you go. I don't know. I don't know if that's real, but it's one of those things that's making the rounds. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Here's Cat Turd, and he's talking about this too. He says, Trump would love to have a bill with everything Elon Musk wants in it. If this was either of their businesses, they could just say the word and it would happen and the business would prosper. But try getting it past a hostile, corrupt Congress full of commie Democrats and self-serving Republican egomaniacs with a slim majority. That's what Trump's up against, and it's almost impossible. So yeah, I mean, the politics of it are more layered and more complex than is coming into Elon's take on what's going on. And so again, House of Cards, the Kevin Spacey thing on Netflix, and it was based on a British show of the same name. That's real. Like the difficulty, the compromise, the difficulty with getting the necessary votes, the compromise, the self-serving, the narcissism, the ego, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're a big fish in a small pond when you're in your constituency, and then you come to Washington, D.C., and you're a very small fish in a very big pond, and people come to you and you say, well, you know, that's not how we do things in my district. You know what I mean? And so it's a very interesting, politics is so much stranger than people think. Things don't just happen. And so again, we'll have to see how this all plays out. So Trump, Elon, wait for it. I think the drama is going to happen for a little while and then it'll fade away. I don't know. We'll see. Tamara Litch, let's do our grab bag of governance. And after the grab bag, we have to do crime too and censorship. Oh my gosh. We're going to have to kill the stream earlier. I feel bad. It's so long, and like an hour is about the length of the show. So I've got to kill it around a half an hour. So that's my goal today. So we'll do what we can. We'll do our grab bag of governance first. Tamara Litch is highlighting this. We have a cabinet minister who does not know what an rpal is. And an rpal is the license for carrying a gun. It's a gun license in Canada. Keep listening. It gets worse, much worse. And it does get worse. So here's Andrew Lawton, and here's his questions in question period or just in the House. And he's incredulous. I don't think he can believe his ears. He's like, what?
Chair, does the minister know what an rpal is?
No, Minister.
I do not.
Member.
Does the minister know what the CFSC is?
No, Minister.
I do not, no.
Member.
I'll stipulate, Chair, that is the Canadian firearm safety course that all gun owners in Canada have to do to get their firearms license. Has the minister ever done the Canadian firearm safety course?
The Honourable Minister.
Speaker, it's my third week on the job. No, I have not.
The Honourable Member.
Does the minister know what safety classes and safety demands are expected of law-abiding Canadian gun owners?
The Honourable Minister.
This is not about law-abiding gun owners, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member.
How can the minister make that claim when he doesn't know the basic fundamentals of law-abiding gun ownership in this country, Chair? Chair, does...
It's good. It's good. Lawton wins that exchange. I mean, honestly, the minister comes away looking completely lost, doesn't know his file, doesn't know the basics, doesn't even know what an rpal is. That's crazy. You can't have a public safety minister who doesn't know what an rpal is and doesn't understand the intricacies of Canadian gun law. Wow, right? Just, he's a puppet in a suit. He's doing what he's told. And that's unfortunate. And Lawton laid him bare there. So Tamara Litch is talking about censorship in Canada. Now, we've got a whole series on censorship here. And it's, again, if only we knew how bad it really is, because it's way worse than people think. This stuff isn't legal, but they're making it quasi-legal. What these guys are talking about, this is Blender News, I believe. Yeah, Blender. What they're talking about is a violation of our charter rights. We have basic rights to basic privacy, to not be investigated in, like, as a matter of course, to have some plausible reason to have police investigate us, and so on and so forth. And what's happening with these spy planes is they're just collecting all the data and, you know, fishing for a crime, basically, which is insane. And so that's very problematic. It's not legal, but again, they're pushing laws, they're pushing new amendments to our laws to make it seem like this is necessary and make it seem legal, even though They've been doing this stuff for years. The censorship has been happening for years. The collection of data. I'm sure they've loaded things onto people's computers without their knowledge or permission and used that against them. We saw the hacker from the Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe hacker who, you remember the guy who was breathing and I called him a demon? He was breathing into the microphone all weird and he was like, I hacked the truckers, blah, 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 that guy. They used that data against regular people, and that's not legal either. So they're using these laws to make it quasi-legal now, and I think they're going to try and backdate it to make it muddy. 2020, 2025, what's the difference, right? Well, at one point it wasn't legal, and it still shouldn't be legal. This government's illegitimate, and they shouldn't be they're communists, and they shouldn't be pushing laws that break the intent of our charter, and they are. Here's Blender News talking about the unbelievable censorship during the trucker convoy.
Buying that happened during the trucker convoy in Ottawa. So 5 times CanSoftCom, so the Canadian Special Forces flew a King Air plane, which is a spy plane essentially equipped with super advanced tech to scrape data from any device that can transmit a signal. So that means watches, phones, computers, anything that sends or receives data, this plane will pick up and it will harvest any or all of it with or without you even knowing it happened. So this is sort of one of those cyber attacks that you can call it an attack. Well, it's basically just spying or surveillance. So 5 times this happened over the convoy in Ottawa. The flight diverted from its set path, flew directly over the convoy in a scraping more or less pattern, and conducted this illegal spying operation.
Wait a minute. So we have technology that can be in an airplane flying above doesn't really matter how many feet. It's obviously you don't know what's happening. And their technology can, on a flyby, scoop all the information that's on my phone.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
So like everybody's like 100,000 phones all at once. It can just scoop all the information.
So whatever's in your phone is now in that plane.
That is mental. I had no idea we had that. That's crazy.
But people have reached out to me to say, not only is what I'm saying accurate, but there's a lot more that I don't know, and they're not even comfortable telling me what it is. They can't handle being around this anymore, and they just don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that too. I don't want to be around any of these communists who are running things. It's very, very disheartening, and we should stop them from doing that. So I wish that we had a pathway to end the insanity of what's going on. But again, this goes back to the Agenda movie, the documentary I started with. It's on, as I said, it's on YouTube. This documentary talks about all of this kind of stuff and talks about, if only you knew how bad it really is, because it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I don't know how I jumped over that. I'm streaming. I feel like we missed this. We missed this right here. Carney's brought back a Trudeau bill now called C3, which will allow foreign-born Canadians who leave the country to pass on citizenship to their foreign kids, provided they can demonstrate an attachment to Canada. And it says the Liberal government has tabled legislation that would grant citizenship to people born in a foreign country to Canadian parents who are also born outside of Canada, after a similar bill failed to pass through Parliament last year. So they're just trying to relitigate something they failed at. So pretty crazy stuff, really. So this is Bill C3, and this is the main reason I wanted to highlight this article is because they were talking about how 3 years of being in Canada is enough to qualify you for this this program. And if you spend 3 years in Canada, 1,070 consecutive days, I think it says, then you will be able to pass on your citizenship no matter where your children are born. 1,095 consecutive days. That's it. Crazy, right? Or 3 years physically in Canada prior to the birth of your child. That child is Canadian no matter where they're born. So if you spent 3 years here and you're Japanese and then you go back to Japan and you have a child and you're like, they're also Canadian, then bingo, bango, bongo, you're Canadian Japanese or Japanese Canadian, whatever it is. That's crazy town. Absolutely bonkers, right? And we shouldn't have politicians who cheapen our citizenship to such an extent, right? I can understand the argument, but it should have been a non-starter. We shouldn't be making it law. It seems like a really bad idea. Like a really bad idea. Here's Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, and they're talking about Bill C2, and they say this is the borders bill. This is the strengthening our borders bill. And they say if Bill C2 passes, it will become a criminal code offense for businesses, professionals, and charities to accept cash donations, deposits, or payments of $10,000 or more. Even if the $10,000 payments or donation is broken down into several smaller cash transactions, it will still be a crime for a business or charity to receive it. This is similar to Quebec's Bill 54, adopted in March 2024, which empowers police to presume that any person carrying $2,000 or more in cash must have obtained it as the proceeds of a crime. Police can seize the money, and the citizen must prove his or her innocence to get it back. It is true that very few Canadians use cash in the amount of $10,000 or more for a single purchase or donation, but once doing so becomes criminal, it's easy for the federal government to reduce the legal amount to $5,000, then $1,000, then $100, then eventually nothing. So it's if you can get the door open idea, if you can figure out a way to criminalize anti-Semitism, the door's open. Anti-Semitism online as hate or something like that. The door's open, and then all of a sudden you're criminalizing Islamophobia and anti-Hinduism and everything except anti-Christianism, right? And then people start going to jail, but only in the West. So yeah, no, it's a very, very bad idea. It's the same kind of creep. Restricting the use of cash is a dangerous step towards tyranny and totalitarianism. Cash gives citizens privacy, autonomy, and freedom from surveillance by government and by banks, credit card companies, and other corporations. If we cherish our privacy, we need to defend our freedom to choose cash in the amount of our choosing. This includes, for example, our right to pay $10,000 cash for a car or to donate $10,000 or more to a charity. Law enforcement already has the tools to fight crime. Perhaps they need a bigger budget to hire more people, or perhaps they need to use existing tools more effectively in a free society. Violating our right to use cash is not the answer. Yes, that's true, and that's the Justice Center talking about that. And yeah, but I don't know that we're going to. I don't know that we're going to avert this. It seems again like a juggernaut that is happening whether we want it to or not. Juno News is reporting a prominent constitutional rights group is pushing back against Carney's government's new border security bill, C2, arguing that it would grant authorities sweeping new powers over Canadians' privacy. Yep, they can do all sorts of things with regards to looking into your electronic devices, your mail, all sorts of stuff. And it is against the spirit of our charter, and they know it. And they're pretending that they don't, because if they did know it, or if they accepted that they knew it, they wouldn't be able to do it. Jared says, MP Michelle Rempel, why did the Liberals bring 500,000 foreign students to Canada during a massive housing shortage? That's misinformation, says the immigration minister, except that the information was from the minister's website. It lags a little bit, but it's worth it to watch. Here we go.
Liberals promised to cap foreign study permits, which also allow people to work in Canada. But new data shows that the Liberals blew their cap out of the water by handing out a whopping 500,000 foreign study permits last year, roughly the same population as all of Halifax. Why did the Liberals bring 500,000 foreign students to Canada during a massive housing shortage and while youth in Canada can't find jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for that question. Those figures are inaccurate. It's misinformation. This new government is hard at work to improve our immigration system, and the introduction of Bill C2 Tuesday was an example of that. We are taking significant steps to preserve the integrity of our system, while also upholding our humanitarian commitments, because we understand a well-managed immigration system is essential to a safer, stronger Canada.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
So I got those numbers from the minister's website. I went on the website and I read them. So in the middle of a housing crisis, she brought 500,000 people to Canada. These people compete with Canadians for jobs, require housing and healthcare. If her department's numbers aren't the real numbers, what are the real numbers?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, let me give the opposite member a lesson on immigration and on numbers and on permits of visa. There's many applications and many individuals. We recognize that to balance our immigration and to balance and have a good country, we need temporary and we need permanent residents. Some applicants have multiple numbers, and so therefore I would suggest that we look into those numbers a little bit more in detail. Thank you.
Did that give you any confidence at all in the Minister for Immigration? Holy smoke. It felt like we were watching a Saturday Night Live sketch, except this is very, very real, right? This is the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Lana Metelgi Diab. That's misinformation. And when asked, what's the real numbers, says, oh, well, maybe we should look into that more. I mean, again, she got caught out, right? So, yikes. Holly Doan is reporting House of Commons by unanimous vote passes Bloc Québécois Bill C-202, which protects dairy quotas in future trade talks. Identical bill was gutted in the Senate last year, so we'll see if that gets gutted in the Senate again this year. The Senate leader, Gold, is retiring on June 30th, so that's interesting. I don't know if they'll have a chance to get through this before then. Is the Senate sitting right now? And when do they rise for summer? Usually it's not. Usually it has already happened. Usually they've already gone for the summer. But anyway, I digress. We'll see what happens with all of this. But if you thought we were getting a removal of interprovincial trade barriers by removing supply management at any level, well, sorry to disappoint. Although I feel like we predicted that. Andrew Scheer says every dollar Carney borrows means more of your dollars. Tax dollars go to bankers and bondholders in the form of interest payments. Now Carney wants to borrow hundreds of billions more without a budget. You're taxed more, you get less. Demand accountability. And like I said, why did the throne speech pass on division with a unanimous consent in place of a vote? You stood there and didn't do anything. Now we're supposed to get you to fight for us? Color me skeptical, but like, what? I'm going to sign a petition to say, yes, drop the government at your earliest convenience. Not now, obviously, but the next time a confidence vote comes up? What? Like, are you just going to stand around and let everything get passed by unanimous consent or what, Andrew Scheer? Ridiculous. So, I mean, okay, if you want to sign the petition, I guess I've got a bridge to sell you to nowhere. Like, honestly. It doesn't make any sense. Tim Uppal, who is the Conservative House leader, I think. Oh no, deputy leader of the CPC. Okay, he says 41 years ago, a pre-planned attack by the Indian Army named Operation Blue Star was executed against one of the Sikhs' holiest places of worship, the Golden Temple, Harmandir Sahib, on one of the holiest days. I don't know why I'm still reading this. And Maxime Bernier weighs in. He says, why should we care about something that happened decades ago in India? In case you never heard about this guy, he's Poilievre's deputy leader. He got that post because the CPC cares more about pandering and playing ethnic policies than defending Canadians' interests. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of bombing. I don't mind Indian people, but I have absolutely zero interest in hearing Canadian conservative politicians lecture us on Sikh holy days in India. That's not what we need to be listening to. Can you imagine India having me lecture them on Christianity and holy days or things that happened in Canada 40 years ago? It wouldn't be appropriate. It's not appropriate here, right? And people should know that. You should know that. My gosh, man. Like, what is wrong with you? Here is Melanie, and I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I will do. I feel like this is coming. My kids are old enough that I can reasonably pull them and they'll be fine. High school equivalency, and they'll get a better education with me than they will with this indoctrination factory. So I would not tolerate this. Zero tolerance for this nonsense. If people hate you and they articulate their hatred with training sessions, going to that place to be educated or to spend any time at all is a really bad idea. And so Melanie says, the full set of leaked slides are pretty wild. There's just too much material to cover in a single article, but here they are if you're interested. I just realized we're already 35 minutes in. I blew right through that 30 minutes, didn't I? Juno News says, school board trains staff that the term family is harmful and racist. These slides are racist. Dismantling whiteness is racist. And it's indeed, it says family is racist. Here's another one, unpacking whiteness. Whiteness is a system, is it? I thought it was like just a skin color. We've been conditioned to be part of the system of whiteness. Okay. Whiteness is a construct that allows white supremacy to flourish. This is circular reasoning, everybody. Building anti-oppressive educators, debrief, unpack whiteness, identifying characteristics of whiteness. I would leave. I wouldn't subject myself to this. I would leave. And if they fired me for it, I would sue them, I think. Revisiting microaggressions, words matter, and homework. Exit ticket. Dismantling whiteness. Let's examine how words are used to uphold whiteness in our school. Family. Uncomfortable, tradition, answering your questions about affinity, unpacking whiteness. So all of this, characteristics of whiteness continue, defensiveness. My gosh. So it's very racist. And imagine, replace whiteness with anything else. Jewishness, Asianness, blackness, right? If you're like, oh, blacks, you're very defensive. Oh, Jews, you're very defensive. That's very defensive of you. That's very characteristic of you, right? It was very, very characteristic of you people, right? Like, can you imagine? But this is okay? No, obviously not, right? Responding to exit, you asked for more examples of microaggressions. I don't see color or race as a microaggression. Okay, they're invalid. These people are invalid racists who are insane. Bruce Party says the U.S. Supreme Court affirms again that equal protection under the law. Reverse discrimination is discrimination. A member of a majority group cannot have a heavier burden than others, but not in Canada, where reverse discrimination has been authorized by the Charter and the Supreme Court. So Nick says the Supreme Court just announced unanimously that reverse discrimination is discrimination. In other words, discriminating against someone because they're white and heterosexual is illegal under the Civil Rights Act. Yep. Darn that Canada's a backwards communist country now. Shucks. Here's the National Post, and Ontario is finally forcing DEI out of the schools and universities, but they have affirmative action. They have black brilliance and all sorts of other stuff, which if you want students to do better, then target the students who do poorly and give them support regardless of their skin color. If you want to be racist, have black brilliance groups. It doesn't make any sense to say, we are going to have black brilliance groups to help black people do better in school and ignore all of the other kids who may need help in school, because not all poor students are black. Okay. There are bad students who have a different skin color than black. So why are we only focusing on the black brilliant kids? What? It doesn't make any sense. It's insane. It's racist, and it doesn't make any sense. So I don't trust Ford, but I'm glad that he's doing something about this. Ontario Premier Ford has done something truly conservative. His government proposed rules change for colleges, universities, and school boards are aimed squarely at shifting power away from the diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd and weakening their control over education. So I'd fire everybody. I would fire every single person in school. I would say, kids, you're going on an early summer vacation. You're all fired. Get out, get out, get out now. And like all the way up to the director of education. And then I'd completely restructure the board, give all the money back to the parents, have charter schools and principals who I trusted, because I would interview them. How many schools in Ontario? I could interview that many people, no problem. We'll have group interviews. How many people believe a boy can be a girl? How many people believe boys should be in girls' bathrooms? Okay, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. The rest of you, let's have a conversation. This is easy, right? I could fix this. But Ford's doing it in a different way, I guess. It's welcome news for anyone who thinks that public education should be about learning and diversity of ideas and not a playground for political activists. Ford and his team are not selling their new Bill 33 as an attack on DEI, but that's clearly what it is. Universities and colleges will be obliged to admit students on merit rather than membership in a targeted demographic. That should stem their ability to impose reverse discrimination to overcorrect for perceived past injustices. The government intends to take far more direct control over school boards. Progressives who run many big city boards will have little remaining authority, and the province will be able to countermand pretty much any move it doesn't like. For starters, well, you can read the rest. The link is in the description. We've got to move. We're already at 40 minutes. Ridiculous. This is important. Danielle Smith is, well, I'll let him say it. I hope you can understand him. He's got a bit of an accent, and it's not the usual British one, but here we go.
I am here to ask some simple question to UCP Alberta government and Daniel Smith as a conservative ideology guy. My questions are, number one, who convinced Daniel Smith to make the following 3 promises at Al Rashid Mosque to Alberta Muslim community, and what was promised to her in return? Number 1, create a stat Islamic holiday?
I've also heard that it would be wonderful for you to have holidays that are recognized by your employers. I mean, they are called holidays because they are holy days, and we know that we recognize many in the Christian calendar, but every religion has a holy day, yours being Eid, that you would like to be able to have days off.
Number 2, pay for construction of private Islamic schools by creating an accelerated school construction program.
Can you explain the subsidiary part of this and essentially why that's needed?
Without getting into too much detail, I'd say that through this mass consultation that the department did, it was found that may be the best path to reach some of the theological considerations of who's offering this product.
Number 3, create Sharia law credit union in Alberta to help Al Rashid Mosque finance their infrastructure projects. Al Rashid Mosque wants to rezone industrial land to accommodate growing Edmonton community. Please watch this news article. Number 2, why did the principal of Edmonton Islamic Academy, owned by Al Rashid Mosque, attempt to organize a field trip for students to go to Red Deer and vote for Danielle Smith in her UCP leadership review?
I wrote a whole article about this. It's on Canada Poly if you're interested. I think it's one of the only news articles on there because I got busy. There was another project I'm interested in and it took my attention. So apologies about that. But I did write this article and it's up there now talking about this and her leadership review. Very, very interesting. So yeah, what's going on with that? And this one is the last one for the free show today, which is 10 minutes longer than I intended. So apologies. But this is Elizabeth May. And Ryan says, bring back the days when 2 men in white coats would enter this scene and take this person directly to the loony bin. This is the insanity of the people who are in charge of our government. Elizabeth May is thankfully not the speaker, but she is one of the people who is charting the course for Canada. Here's how crazy she is.
Water bombers won't put out most of once a fire is out of control, but you could stop it early if you could, because the nature of 21st century fire is very different from 20th century fire because of the climate crisis. It's changed fire behavior. It's made fires much harder to put out and much more dangerous for communities.
Oh, okay. Sure. Seems like you're being lied to, Elizabeth May, and by extension, lying to us. So thanks for watching, everybody, on the stream, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to canadapoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful